Na ano? gulai. sir.
Hello,
How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine too, sir. We're just waiting for our special guest to
Okay,
join, and then we'll
okay,
start with the session.
no problem.
Sorry for the inconvenience, guys. Our special guest is she'll join in just 5 minutes. Okay, our special guest has arrived. Please, host, can you please make ma'am co-host for the session?
Yeah.
So, hello everyone, I am Nandini Desai. On behalf of Health Respect and the entire team of Nutri-Talk, welcome you all in the world of knowledge. I welcome today's esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Krishnapura Srinivasan, Chief Scientist and former Head, Department of Biochemistry and Nutrition at Central Food Technology Research Institute, Mysore. Sir is going to speak on consumption of spices promotes human health. Welcome, sir. I
Thank
welcome
you.
today's esteemed special guest, Dr. Sonal Zanwar ma'am. She's a principal at Shram Shakti College of Food Technology, Maldad, Sangamner. Welcome, ma'am. I especially welcome the team of supporters for the event, who are the Rotaract Club, Inner Wheel Club, Holistic Foods, Odigos Hub, and Sumeru Education Society. I also welcome our title sponsors for the event, Trupti Udyog and Spectrum Infrastructure. I welcome the delegates from the Knowledge Partner, Wisdom Extra Consultants Private Limited. I feel proud to be a part of Swayam Shakti, which works for women empowerment. I welcome all the board of directors and executive members of Swayam Shakti. I welcome you all, dear participants. Those are now connected with us on digital platforms of Zoom, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We are really happy to share with you all that you are very motivated with your overwhelming response. Today, I'm happy to share about NutriTalk, an initiative of Health Respect. NutriTalk is a platform to exchange knowledge on top nutritional trends. This knowledge series plays a vital role as a torchbearer on nutritional theories, talks, researches, models, concepts, observations, articles, and many more, which are shared by top food and research scientists, nutritional coach, clinical dietitians, healthcare food manufacturers, professors, and influencers. NutriTalk is a perfect compassionate way for those who want to be able to follow a healthy diet rich in nutrients to enhance the body's performance. NutriTalk helps to achieve one more primary objective, which is exploring new avenues related to food and nutrition. Sir is going to speak about nutraceuticals today. Sir will also inform us some benefits of spices. NutriTalk is curated by Health Respect with focused, selfless intention, which is nutrition is a physical, psychological, and social behavior leading to a healthy and happy lifestyle. I welcome you all in the world of knowledge. And Odisha, over to you.
Thank you, Nandini. A very good evening to all our participants and our eminent speakers. I would like to introduce our special guest, Dr. Sonal R. Zanwar, ma'am, the principal of Shram Shakti College of Food Technology, Maharashtra. She is working as the head of the Department of Food Processing Technology. Her areas of research interests are nutraceutical component, new food product development, oilseed technology, fruit processing. She serves as a reviewer for Food and Agriculture Spectrum journal. She attended various national and international conferences where she published posters and oral presentations. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to Nutri-Talk 2020. We would request you to share your views. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you for giving me a platform to share my views. But today I will discuss about, as Sir had taken a topic about nutraceutical, I will just give an overview about the classifications of different spices and herbs. Now, when we say classification of spices or herbs, India is said as a land of spices. When we say land of spices, more than 50 to 60 type of spices are grown all over the region in India. Beside that, there is a different classification of the herbs and plants which are under the group of spices. There are different bases. Like first one is depending on the plant part which are used as a spices. There are different spices and the parts of the plant which are used as spices, like seed, bulb, bark, fruit, leaf, rhizomes, pods, and other parts of the plants. Next one is classification on the basis of the economic importance. Means they are classified under two groups. First one is major, second one is the minor. Major means they are contributing more under the area and under the spice trading industry. Minor, they are only cultivated at the less and they are trading at the less quantity. Five major spices are there, which comes like cardamom, black peppers, chili, turmeric, ginger. Next category is depending on the climate requirement, how the spices grow under different climate. There are three categories: tropical, subtropical, and temperate zone. Tropical and subtropical, they are high temperature zone. Temperate, they grows in low temperature zone. Next is depending on the origin and flavor. There are different categories. There are pungency, aromatic compounds, phenolic compound, and color component under those within the spices. They comes under these different categories. Next is depending on the season of growth and the plant life cycle. There are three categories: annual spices, which complete within a year or one cycle or one season. Biennial, they need 2 seasons. Perennial, more than 2 seasons. These are the three species depending on the season of the growth. Next are depending on the habit, how they grow. First one is herb, second one is shrubs, tree, climbers, and perennial herbs. They are also known as rhizomes. Like ginger, turmeric, they come under this rhizomes. And at last, they are on the basis of importance of the production. As we know, there are different trees also, and there are different species which grows on the rock also. Depending on that, major and minor are the categories of the spices under the importance of production. Depending on the botanical families, the spices belong to Apiaceae, Lamiaceae, Liliaceae, Solanaceae, Gingerberaceae, Alliaceae, Brassiaceae. These are the different families depending on the botanical names and the grouping of the spices. Now these are the some conventional type of spices classification which we most commonly know: hot, mild, aromatic spices, herbs and aromatic vegetables. Hot versus chilies. As the chilies concentration increases, they go into the hot categories. Black pepper is also considered in the hot category. Mild is like paprika and coriander. Aromatic, they are having aromatic components like cardamom, example cinnamons. Aromatic vegetables, onion, garlic, celery. Thank you. That's all from my side regarding the classification.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your kind words. Now I would like to, it's an honor to have our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. K. Srinivasan Sir, in this platform. He is a retired chief scientist and former head of the Department of Biochemistry and Nutrition and Department of Molecular Nutrition at CSIR Central Food Technological Research Institute, Mysore. He was a research associate at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in New York. He was the research scientist in CFTRI Mysore. His field of research are xenobiotics metabolism, cancer biochemistry, nutritional biochemistry, experimental nutrition. He was awarded with Research Associateship, national awards, namely Dr. Ramarao Memorial Award and BGRC Silver Jubilee Award. He gave guidance for PhD to 18 students. He has 235 publications, including 165 research articles, 20 book chapters, 20 popular science, and many more. He was the member of Scientific Advisory Council, McCormick Science Institute, USA. He was a chief guest at 25th Annual Meet of Japanese Society of Spice Research, Japan. He was also invited speaker at various national and international forums, such as Chicago, USA, Japan, Bangalore, and had many more international recognitions. He was the editor of Journal of Food Science and Technology and Food Quantity and Safety. Some of his important publications are Role of Herbs and Spices, Health Beneficial Effects of Turmeric, Spices and Flavoring Crops, Cardioprotective Influence of Dietary Spices, Anti-cataractogenic Potential of Dietary Spices in Diabetic Condition, Health Promoting Effects of Onions, Spices as Functional Food in Diabetes, and many more. We welcome you, sir, in this platform, and we are eager to get an insight towards how consumption of spices promotes human health. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Nandini. It's my pleasure to share with you the knowledge that I have acquired over 4 decades of my active research at Central Food Technological Research Institute. In these years, I specialized myself in the broad area of nutritional biochemistry with particular focus on understanding the physiological effects of dietary spices and their application as nutraceuticals. Share screen. India is rightly called the land of spices because our country is the biggest producer of spices. It is also the biggest exporter of spices. Incidentally, it is also the biggest consumer of spices. Spices are being used as food adjuncts to make the food attractive and palatable, because we know that different spices impart a typical aroma of its own, a flavor of its own, pungency of its own, and sometimes color too. They make the food more appetizing. Spices are consumed all over the world to enhance the sensory quality of foods. However, the quantity and variety of spices consumed are particularly extensive in tropical countries such as India. Most of us are not aware that spices improve the nutritional quality of our food. Many of us wouldn't have imagined how it can do that, because by themselves, spices do not provide any significant nutrition in terms of any of the micronutrients or major nutrients. But I would firmly say that spices indirectly improve the nutritional quality of our food. How? Because use of spices encourages variety in our food. Nutrient diversity is ensured by the use of spices because we can have access to a variety of food choices. Higher plant food intakes are possible only because of the presence of spices. Otherwise, we won't have had access to these many dishes prepared out of plant foods. And everyone knows that plant food intake is very much linked to the better health, because plant foods provide high dietary fiber, they are generally low in fat and salt, they are less energy dense, they also provide certain vitamins such as beta carotene, vitamin C, and folic acid in rich amounts. Hence, spices could be regarded as the first ever functional food used by mankind. Besides their use as food agents, man also understood that spices provide a few medicinal effects. For centuries, or probably even for thousands of years, a few spices are put to use to cure certain types of diseases. Particularly, a few spices are well understood to be digestive stimulants, and they act as dyspeptic. Some of them are anti-inflammatory. They can relieve the pain. Some of them are diuretic, antispasmodic, etc. Thus, these spices find application as components of the pharmaceutical preparations in the traditional systems of medicine, both in India and in China, and probably in other countries too. Nevertheless, spices are also part of our traditional home remedies. Spices exert these medicinal effects because of the presence of bioactive compounds in them. Most of these bioactive compounds are phenolic in nature. And it's also a coincidence that the biologically active compound present in the spice is also the spice active compound. For example, the yellow colorant in turmeric is because of the compound curcumin. Curcumin is also the bioactive compound of turmeric. The pungent principle present in red chili is capsaicin. Incidentally, capsaicin is also the bioactive compound of red chili. Piperine is the compound which is responsible for the piquant or pungency of black pepper. Piperine is also the bioactive compound of black pepper. Ginger has its bioactive compound as gingerol. Black cumin has thymoquinone. Garlic and onion have several sulfur compounds. So, Spices are rich in one or more bioactive compounds specific to them, and it is because of these bioactive compounds that spices exert their medicinal properties. The most popular medicinal effect of spices is their potential to stimulate digestion. And some of these spices are also components of digestive stimulant pharmaceutical preparations. And our home remedies also employ a decoction of coriander seeds, cumin seeds, or fennel seeds because they are understood to improve our digestion, and they are also dyspeptic in nature. And now this property, digestive stimulant property of spices, has been experimentally validated, particularly in our laboratory, and the mechanism of digestive stimulant action of these spices have been understood very well. It is not just the spices which are employed in pharmaceutical preparations. Many of the commonly used spices have this particular potential, and experimentally validated digestive stimulant action is exerted by turmeric, red chili, black pepper, ginger, mint leaves, onion bulbs, cumin seeds, ajowan seeds, fennel seeds, fenugreek seeds, coriander seeds. These spices, or most of them, which I listed in the previous slide, stimulate the liver to produce and secrete more bile juice. And it also stimulates bile to secrete higher amounts of bile salts in the bile juice. And we all know that bile salt facilitates dietary fat digestion as well as absorption of the fat digestion products, because these bile salts are essential for emulsification of the dietary fat before its digestion, and also for the absorption of the fat digestion products. Without this emulsification, we wouldn't have absorbed fat digestion products. So, bile plays a crucial role in the digestion and absorption of dietary fat. Secondly, dietary spices also stimulate the activities of the main digestive enzymes which are produced and secreted by the pancreas. Pancreas supplies through its juice called pancreatic juice the enzyme that primarily digests triglycerides, namely lipase, and the enzymes which take care of dietary proteins, namely trypsin, chymotrypsin, etc. And pancreatic juice also supplies the enzyme amylase, which digests dietary starch and dietary glycogen. So all the three major nutrients are primarily digested by these three enzyme classes supplied by the pancreas. And we now know that the digestive stimulant spices stimulate the pancreatic organ to secrete pancreatic juice, which have richer activities, higher activities of these enzymes. Dietary spices also stimulate the terminal digestive enzymes present on the small intestinal mucosa, namely dipeptidases and disaccharidases. When starch is digested, we get maltose and other oligosaccharides. These are further digested by the disaccharidases present on the intestine. Similarly, proteins are digested by the pancreatic proteases into dipeptides, which are further digested by these dipeptidases. And spices are known to stimulate these terminal digestive enzymes present in the small intestinal mucosa. Due to such a facilitation of the digestion and absorption of the nutrients, food transition time in the GI tract is considerably lowered if we consume these dietary spices. For an American who doesn't consume liberal amounts of spices, the food transit time, that is mouth to anal transit time, is more than 24 hours, whereas an Indian has food transit time in the GI tract of about 16 to 17 hours. So the food transit time in our GI tract is considerably lowered because of this facilitated digestion and absorption of dietary ingredients. So the mechanism of digestion of the digestive stimulant action of spices is schematically put here. Spices stimulate pancreas to secrete pancreatic juice with higher titers of the digestive enzymes. Simultaneously, spices present in the food also stimulate liver to secrete bile juice, which will have higher content of the bile salts. Bile salts facilitate emulsification of dietary fat. Digestive enzymes supplied by the pancreatic juice take care of the digestion of all the three major nutrients. So the digestive stimulant action of spices results in reduced food transit time. Some of the culinary spices have anti-diabetic properties. These anti-diabetic properties are well documented in the case of fenugreek seeds, onion, garlic, turmeric or curcumin, cumin seeds, and ginger. I have listed these spices in the order of their efficacy. Probably fenugreek seed is the best anti-diabetic spice, followed by onion and followed by garlic, etc. All these 6 spices have been documented to show hypoglycemic influence. They can also help in better management of the glycemic load, and they are also known to ameliorate the secondary complications associated with persistent diabetic disorder, namely nephropathy, cardiovascular disease, and cataract. There are a number of studies which have documented the anti-diabetic potential of fenugreek seeds. And there are good number of human studies, clinical trials also. In addition, the laboratory animals also document. There are too many animal experimentation also, which prove the anti-diabetic efficacy of fenugreek seeds. In the case of garlic, there are no human studies, but there are sufficient number of animal studies to conclude that garlic is an excellent anti-diabetic spice. In the case of onions, we have good number of human studies, in addition to vast number of studies on experimental animals. Both normal as well as diabetic animals have been used for this documentation. Cumin seeds also has a single human study besides studies on experimental animals, and turmeric has a couple of studies on experimental rats. So these vast number of experimental studies as well as clinical trials are sufficient to conclude that spices exert anti-diabetic effect, and they can be best employed to manage the diabetes, both the primary hyperglycemia as well as to ward off or to delay or to ameliorate all the secondary complications of diabetes. The mechanisms of action of these individual spices are also well worked out. These spices will exert their anti-diabetic effect by one or two of the schemes which I have indicated here. Some spices will have insulin secretagogue effect. They potentiate the pancreas to secrete more of insulin, and some spices will stimulate the utilization of glucose in the peripheral tissues. Some will suppress the upregulated polyol pathway in specific tissues such as retina, kidney, Some spices will have, particularly the garlic and onion will have insulin sparing action. That is, they prevent insulin from its destruction so that insulin stays longer in the body. And some spices will suppress glucose production from non-carbohydrate sources. And some spices inhibit intestinal glucose uptake. And a few spices will also alleviate the oxidative stress, which is particularly high during diabetes. And we all know that it is the oxidative stress accompanying diabetes that is the prime reason for the progression of all the secondary complications. If spices can exert this antioxidant effect, they can also ameliorate all the secondary complications. And a few spices are also anti-inflammatory in nature. By inhibiting the inflammatory scheme during diabetes, they can protect our organs. So some of the spices which have anti-diabetic effect, they work through reducing the oxidative stress, which is otherwise rampant in diabetic situation. As such, we will see less of reactive oxygen species and less of lipid peroxidation products in tissues of diabetic person. And we also know that polyol pathway is upregulated in tissues such as kidney and retina, and even in nerve endings of diabetic person. It is because under the conditions of excess glucose production or excess glucose in the blood, polyol pathway is upregulated because the enzymes aldose reductase and sorbitol dehydrogenase are stimulated under this condition. And this polyol pathway ultimately leads to excessive production of reactive oxygen species and oxidant stress. If we can suppress this polyol pathway, we can certainly protect the organs such as kidney and retina. So by suppressing the upregulation of the polyol pathway in diabetic situation, spices such as fenugreek seeds and onion will control or ameliorate the progression of all the three secondary complications in diabetic condition. And spices can also, by their antioxidant protection of the eye, they can delay the cataractogenesis and the lens becoming opaque. The spices that have been explored to this potential include curcumin of turmeric, crocin of saffron, fenugreek seeds, cumin seeds, garlic, and onion. I also indicated how the eye lens will look like in diabetic situation, normal eye lens, diabetic eye lens. And in spice pre-treated animals, we can see that cataractogenesis of the eye lens is significantly prevented. A few spices are also cardioprotective. And we all know that high blood cholesterol is one of the culprits in the genesis of CVDs, because we know that atherosclerosis is one of the prime causes for the generation of CVD. Arteriosclerosis is nothing but accumulation of the plaque in the interior walls of the arteries. This plaque results from the fatty streaks. Fatty streaks result from excess cholesterol moving into the lumen portion of the arteries. And there are few spices which have the ability to lower blood cholesterol level. These include turmeric, red chili, fenugreek seeds, garlic, onion. All these 5 spices are known to reduce blood cholesterol level under conditions of hypercholesterolemia. Under such conditions, especially not under normal conditions, under normal conditions, all these spices are extremely safe. They won't reduce cholesterol unnecessarily. But when the animal is challenged with hypercholesterolemia, then only these specific spices will reduce cholesterol further increase, or they prevent the synthesis of cholesterol. They also prevent the absorption of dietary cholesterol. The hypocholesterolemic potential of these 5 spices are well validated both in human trials as well as in experimental animals. Fenugreek seeds have been worked with humans too. The hypocholesterolemic effect of garlic has been extensively studied in a number of human studies, particularly in European countries. And besides human trials, all the experimental animals have revealed its excellent potency to reduce blood cholesterol level. And hypocholesterolemic effect of onion is also studied in humans besides experimental animals. Hypocholesterolemic effect of red chili and that of curcumin have been studied in experimental animals. So all these studies have documented the positive effect of these spices to reduce cholesterol levels in blood and other tissues. And some of these spices are also shown to reduce triglyceride levels in the blood. And now know that it is not just the high cholesterol per se that is responsible for the arteriosclerosis. This arteriosclerosis is facilitated when the LDL is oxidated, LDL present in circulation. If it is oxidized somehow, it will have a tendency to attract the immune cells. Oxidized LDL is the culprit, not the native LDL. Cholesterol associated with native LDL is not that virulent compared to the cholesterol associated with the oxidized LDL. So oxidized LDL, by its extraordinary attractive property, will attract the immune cells, which develop into foam cells, which develop into fatty streaks, and further they generate the fatty streaks and then plaque formation, which accumulates on the inner wall of the arteries. And some of the spices have been understood now to inhibit the oxidation of LDL in circulation. Those spices which have the potential to prevent LDL oxidation include curcumin of turmeric, capsaicin of red chili, garlic, fenugreek seeds. When does this LDL gets oxidized? A person who smokes will have greater tendency to oxidize his LDL. So persons who are exposed to asbestos, persons who smoke regularly, these people will have higher titers of oxidized LDL in their blood. So if such people consume liberal amounts of these specific spices, he can ameliorate or he can reduce the extent of oxidation of his LDL so that the chances of arteriosclerosis is also ameliorated. Cardioprotective effect is exerted, no doubt, by blood cholesterol lowering property and also by preventing the oxidation of LDL in the circulation. Besides these two factors, the ability to inhibit aggregation of platelets, that is the anti-thrombotic property, also contributes to cardioprotection. A few spices have been documented to exert this inhibition of platelet aggregation, that is anti-thrombotic property. And one particular spice so far has been shown to be hypotensive, that is it can reduce blood pressure. All these 4 factors contribute to the protection of our hearts. We can also derive synergy among spices in their cardioprotection. For example, if a fiber-rich fenugreek is consumed along with sulfur compounds-rich garlic, these two will work by two different mechanisms. So spices working by two different mechanisms will exert an additive effect in protecting the heart muscle. So this has been actually documented from our laboratory. And we also know that the cardiac damage associated in diabetic condition is also synergized by simultaneous consumption of fenugreek seeds and onion. 1 plus 1 is sometimes more than 2, but certainly it amounts to 1 plus 1 certainly amounts to 2 because they work by two different mechanisms. And we have also documented in our laboratory that the cardioprotective influence of fenugreek seeds and onion is exerted through the inhibition of the upregulated renin-angiotensin system, which precipitates the damage of the cardiac muscle. Another outcome of cholesterol-lowering property of spices is the prevention of cholesterol gallstones. When cholesterol gets supersaturated in the bile, bile is after all synthesized and secreted by the liver. If this bile juice is supersaturated with cholesterol, cholesterol being less soluble in the aqueous system, when it reaches the threshold value, it starts precipitating out from solution. When it reaches a sufficient size, it crystallizes. When cholesterol crystallizes in the gallbladder, it prevents the free flow of bile juice. So you will have cholesterol gallstones. The situation is called cholesterol gallstones. Cholesterol gallstone is effectively prevented by the same 5 hypocholesterolemic spices, namely fenugreek seeds, red chili, turmeric, garlic, and onion. We can experimentally induce cholesterol gallstones in mice and hamsters. I have indicated a picture of gallbladder containing gallstones. And I have also indicated how we can, by continuous feeding of high cholesterol diet, we can induce the formation of gallstones. And if we feed along with high cholesterol, one of these spices, and the incidence of cholesterol gallstones is considerably reduced. Not only the incidence of cholesterol gallstone, the severity of cholesterol gallstone is also considerably reduced. I have indicated a histogram picture wherein fenugreek inclusion along with high cholesterol is shown to considerably reduce the incidence of cholesterol gallstone formation. It is dose dependent. Higher the amount of fenugreek in our diet, lesser is the incidence of cholesterol gallstones by an atherogenic diet. This also work from our laboratory. And the mechanism of anti-lithogenic property of spices is schematically indicated here. These spices have the ability to lower blood cholesterol by inhibiting the synthesis of cholesterol and also by inhibiting absorption of dietary cholesterol. And lesser blood cholesterol will lead to decreased secretion of cholesterol into bile. Decreased cholesterol concentration in the bile means lesser saturation of cholesterol in the bile. So the saturation index of cholesterol in bile is considerably reduced. Parallelly, cholesterol is catabolized faster when we consume these 5 specific spices. cholesterol is metabolized into bile salts in the same liver. And these bile salts emulsify the cholesterol, and bile salts are essential for holding the cholesterol in the aqueous bile. And by secreting higher amounts of bile salts into bile, more of cholesterol is held in solution, prevented from its precipitation. So lesser of cholesterol concentration, higher of bile salts concentration, both work simultaneously to decrease the cholesterol saturation index. As a result, cholesterol crystallization is lowered and cholesterol gallstone disease is prevented. In addition to the prevention of cholesterol gallstones under conditions of lithogenic diet, these 5 spices can also help dissolve the preformed cholesterol gallstones. If a person is also already afflicted with cholesterol gallstones, he can catalyze the dissolution of cholesterol gallstones by liberal consumption of one of these 5 spices. These spices are also now known to enhance certain proteins in the bile. There are 2 types of proteins in the bile, anti-nucleating proteins and then pro-nucleating proteins. These consumption of these spices will enhance the anti-nucleating proteins in the bile. The consumption of the same spices will also cause lower concentrations of the pro-nucleating proteins. These also contribute to the prevention of cholesterol gallstones. Another property, another extension of the hypocholesterolemia property of spices is protecting the integrity of our red blood cells. Under conditions of hypercholesterolemia, that is, under conditions of high cholesterol concentrations in the blood, the cells that get immediately impacted are the erythrocytes. Erythrocytes which float in the blood will get enriched with that cholesterol. As a result, the membranes of the erythrocytes will get enriched with cholesterol. All of us know that membranes are made up of cholesterol and phospholipids in an optimal concentration. If higher amounts of cholesterol is present in the membrane, that means cholesterol to phospholipid ratio is altered. If cholesterol to phospholipid ratio of the membranes of the erythrocytes are altered, the structural integrity of the erythrocytes is altered. As a result, erythrocytes, which are normally spherical in shape, will assume haphazard structure, which is known as echinocytic structure. A good number of RBCs will get converted into echinocytes. In the normal person, the echinocyte population is under control. It is less than 5%. But under hypercholesterolemic situation, since the structural integrity of the RBCs is lost, more than 10% or 15% of RBCs will assume this echinocytic form. If the structural integrity of the RBC is compromised, we know that the functional capacity of the RBCs is also lowered. The prime function of RBC is to carry oxygen to the lungs tissue. So the function is compromised, function of RBC is compromised if the structural integrity is lost. Another outcome of this structural alteration of RBCs is RBCs will become very fragile. They are susceptible for osmotic fragility. Instead of living for 4 months, RBCs will live for a shorter duration. RBCs have to be regenerated more often. They will not live the complete life of 4 months. Similarly, if higher amounts of triglycerides are present in blood, RBCs will become very rigid to osmotic fragility. Either it is fragility or rigidity. Both will lead to compromise in the function of RBCs. RBCs should not last for more than 4 months if they are rigid, because then also it leads to some problems. So the hypolipidemic spices, namely red chili, turmeric, garlic, are known to restore the cholesterol to phospholipid ratio in the membranes of RBC because of their inherent cholesterol lowering property. Blood cholesterol is normalized. The cholesterol enrichment of the RBC is also prevented. As a result, the echinocytic population is brought back to normalcy by these spices. And this results in protection of the RBCs from its compromise in structure as well as function. Some of these spices are known to be excellent antioxidants. For example, curcumin of turmeric is probably the best, followed by eugenol of clove, gingerol of ginger, and even capsaicin of red chili. These are all excellent antioxidants because of their phenolic nature. And we all know that it is the oxidant stress is the prime reason for the degenerative diseases. If we can take care of oxidative stress, if we can prevent lipid peroxidation in the tissues, by promoting the antioxidant capacity of our body, certainly we can ward off these diseases, or at least we can ameliorate all the degenerative diseases. And we also know that the antioxidant property of these spices is the prime attribute that is responsible for all the disease preventive potential of the spice. For example, curcumin of turmeric has multiple of disease protection property. It can protect the liver, it can protect the kidney, it can protect the heart, it can protect the lungs, it can protect the liver. It is anti-inflammatory, it is cancer preventive, it is neuropreventive. All these medicinal effects exerted by curcumin is solely attributable to the antioxidant activity of the curcumin present in turmeric. Some of these spices are also excellent anti-inflammatory agents, which is exerted again by the same antioxidant property. Antioxidants should be expected to have anti-inflammatory effect also. Thus, we have already documented the anti-inflammatory potency of turmeric and curcumin, red chili and capsaicin, ginger and gingerol, clove and eugenol, black cumin and thymoquinone, black pepper and piperine. We can experimentally induce inflammation in laboratory animals such as rat if we inject carrageenan into its paw, one of its paw, within hours, say within 3 to 4 hours, we can cause inflammation of the paw. If we inject carrageenan to one of the paws, the other paw, the uninjected paw, will serve as the control paw. We can actually quantitate the paw edema by comparing to the other paw, which is not injected with the same adjuvant. In the case of spice pre-treated rats, we can prevent, we can reduce the extent of paw inflammation. The extent of paw inflammation is considerably lower. So this is how we can document the anti-inflammatory effects potency of spices. Either we can pre-treat the animal and then inject carrageenan, or we can inject the carrageenan and subsequently give a single dose of the test spice or test compound. The antioxidant, anti-inflammatory property of turmeric as well as curcumin is well documented. Especially, there are a number of clinical trials which have proven the anti-inflammatory efficacy of turmeric. Oral curcumin or oral turmeric are very effective in arthritic patients. Oral turmeric and oral curcumin is also very effective to prevent the post-surgical inflammation. Besides this, the adjuvant-induced edema in rats have been understood to be effectively prevented by curcumin pretreatment. And there are a number of studies on the efficacy of red chili as well as its pungent principle capsaicin, human arthritic patients and human both osteoarthritic as well as rheumatoid arthritic patients have recovered considerably with the topical application of the pungent compound of the capsaicin of red chili. And similarly, there are many documentation of the anti-inflammatory effect of capsaicin in experimentally induced pie edema in rats. The anti-inflammatory potency of gingerol as well as ginger is also well documented both in humans and in experimental animals. And probably curcumin, capsaicin, and ginger are the best among the 6 spices I have listed for this anti-inflammatory effect. Nevertheless, there are a good number of studies on the anti-inflammatory potency of clove as well as its active compound eugenol. There are studies on its efficacy of black cumin as well as its bioactive compound thymoquinone. There are also a good number of studies in the case of anti-inflammatory potency of piperine. The anti-inflammatory effect of these spices is understood to be mediated through their ability to suppress the upregulation of the nuclear factor NF-kappa B. And we all know that NF-kappa B signals a pathway which is involved in the generation of so many pro-inflammatory cytokines, such as TNF-alpha, interleukin 1 beta, interleukin 6, etc. By suppressing NF-kappa B activation, these spice bioactives also suppress the generation of pro-inflammatory cytokines. At the same time, these spice bioactives are also understood to enhance the production of anti-inflammatory cytokines, particularly interleukin 4, interleukin 10. As a result of these two upregulations, the inflammation is considerably suppressed by these spices which I revealed. One of the consequences of anti-inflammatory property is cancer prevention, because cancer is primarily an offshoot of inflammation. And we now know that turmeric, garlic, ginger, and black cumin are extremely potential in exerting anti-tumor properties. These spices are also known to have anti-mutagenic property. Particularly, the studies are vast in the case of curcumin. The anti-mutagenic property of garlic is also well understood. Cancer prevention by turmeric or curcumin have been exhaustively studied in animals with different types of cancers. Similarly, cancer prevention by garlic has been studied in different animal systems. Cancer preventive effects of ginger has been studied in mouse model as well as in human studies. The effectiveness of garlic in stomach and colorectal cancer prevention has been documented in humans. Effectiveness of curcumin.
ನಾರळ ಪಾಜೆ ಪುಡನೆ ಸ ಬೇಕಂತ ಎಲ್ಲೋಗ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ
Effectiveness of curcumin in oral, colon, and skin cancer prevention in humans has been well documented. The anti-cancer property involves so many mechanisms, as I have indicated here. So these cancer preventive property involves both the early stages, such as free radical scavenging and suppression of the lipid peroxidation, as well as in the subsequent stages of progression and even metastasis. Anti-inflammatory activity is one of the mechanism of action of anti-cancer property. The possible mechanisms of garlic's effectiveness in cancer is through inhibition of mutagenesis and also effect on cell proliferation, promoting the apoptosis of cancer cells, modulation of the enzymes which are involved in the detoxification of tumor-producing agents, free radical scavenging, inhibition of the cell progression. During this COVID pandemic, all of us are looking towards dietary agents which possibly boost our immunity. And naturally, we are all looking towards so many herbs described in Ayurveda, and also look towards a couple of spices which are believed to have immune boosting potency. And we now know that although the experimental documentation is limited, the available information suggests that these spices are certainly immunomodulatory, and this modulatory influence is exerted by the spices because of the presence of their inherent phenolic compounds, particularly flavonoids and then terpenes, alkaloids, antioxidant molecules, especially the curcumin, eugenol, gingerol, etc. The immunomodulatory potential of these spices can be harvested during this COVID pandemic to get our immune system very alert and fully potent. The immunomodulatory potential of garlic has been documented in a number of studies in experimental animals. Immunomodulatory potential of curcumin as well as black cumin has also been well documented in a number of studies. The immunomodulatory potential of clove as well as piperine of black pepper and gingerol of ginger is also well documented in a couple of animal studies. All these studies indicate that these specific dietary spices certainly modulate our immune system, both the inherent, both the cell-mediated as well as humoral, either through one of the mechanisms, either one or more of the mechanisms. They are known to stimulate phagocytes. They are also known to activate the macrophages. Immunostimulatory effect on peritoneal macrophages. They can also stimulate lymphoid cells. They also stimulate cellular immune function. They increase the antigen-specific immunoglobulin production. They also increase the WBC counts. They are also known to increase the non-specific immunity mediators. Another aspect of spices, particularly the pungent spices, is their beneficial effect on our GI tract. There is a common notion among sections of our population which are essentially misinformed. The notion is pungent spices are injurious to GI tract. That's the notion. But this myth has been dispelled by scientific studies. Even if you were to consume large excess of these pungent spices, say 10 times what we are consuming normally, nothing happens to our GI tract. In fact, these pungent spices, red chili, black pepper, and ginger, they protect the gastrointestinal tract against oxidative stress induced injury. For example, GI tract is injured by a person who is chronically alcoholic. Alcohol produces lesions both in the stomach as well as intestinal linings. And spice consumption, these particular pungent spices, will protect these linings of the GI tract. They cause higher secretions of the mucins in the gastric mucosa. They stimulate the activities of several antioxidant enzymes such as SOD, catalase, etc. in both the gastric and intestinal mucosa. Higher antioxidant activity throughout the GI tract. And chili has been shown to be a benefactor of peptic ulcers. The notion generally that circulates is chili causes peptic ulcer. That's not correct. Chili is benefactor for peptic ulcer because it inhibits the acid secretion. It stimulates the alkali, that is bicarbonate ion secretion in the gastric mucosa. It stimulates the mucus secretion in the mucosa. It also increases the gastric mucosal blood flow. All these contributes to the curative effects of the peptic ulcer. So, red chili is certainly not a cause for peptic ulcer, but it is curative to peptic ulcer. But we should also keep in mind that a person who already has peptic ulcer, probably because of the Helicobacter infection, such persons should not consume red chili because it causes pain. Otherwise, its consumption is certainly not injurious to GI tract. Additionally, these pungent spices are also well documented to have beneficial effect on the intestinal brush border. These pungent spices, all these three pungent spices, significantly increase the length of the small intestine. Small intestine is the site of nutrient absorption. So increased length of the small intestine means probably increase in the available area for absorption of the nutrients. These spices also cause significant increase in the villi length, villi perimeter. So the absorptive surface area of the intestinal villi is considerably increased by consumption of black pepper, by consumption of red pepper, by consumption of ginger. It is experimentally documented in our laboratory. I have shown the picture of the intestinal villi of a normal rat, intestinal villi of a black pepper fed rat. With the same magnification, we can see increased villi length in the black pepper fed rat. With the increased villi surface area, we have actually measured the intestinal absorption of various micronutrients such as beta carotene, zinc, iron, and calcium. All these four micronutrients are absorbed to a greater extent in spice in the intestines isolated from spice pre-treated animals. Thus, these pungent spices are not harmful to the intestine, but they have beneficial effect. They protect the intestines because of their antioxidant activity. They also modulate the ultrastructure of the intestinal brush border, thus facilitating a higher absorption of most of the micronutrients. This is also documented in our own laboratory. I will summarize what I said till now. Spices not only provide variety, flavor, aroma, and even color to the everyday diet, which is otherwise insipid. Besides that, they can reduce the need for less healthy intakes of salt, fat, and sugar. We don't have to depend on salt, fat, or sugar if we have enough spice in our dishes. Thus, these can be dispensed with. Many health beneficial attributes of spices have been recognized and scientifically validated in recent decades. And the traditional remedial uses of spices have also been experimentally validated. Among these multiple medicinal properties of spices, the hypocholesterolemic property of spices and the antioxidant properties of spices have far-reaching nutraceutical potential. And these multiple nutraceutical potential include anti-diabetic, hypocholesterolemic, gallstone preventive, cholesterol lowering, cardioprotective, anti-inflammatory, anti-mutagenic and anti-cancer, digestive stimulant, protective to GI tract, and enhancing the micronutrient bioavailability. Antioxidant spices are also known to provide immune modulatory effects, hence can be used as adjuvant therapy along with the conventional therapy in certain degenerative diseases or during the pandemic times such as the present one. Spices thus deserve to be considered as natural and necessary component of our daily nutrition beyond their role in imparting the taste, flavor to our food. Liberal consumption of spices is proved to be safe. No one need to fear what happens if we consume higher amounts of spices. Westerners are generally skeptical about liberal consumption of spices. They think twice or they shy away from liberal consumption of spices. Microencapsulation techniques and the nanotechnology in the present times have boosted the pharmaceutical application of these spice bioactives to overcome the limitations in their bioavailability or the limitations in their consumption. For example, if capsaicin is a bioactive that should be exploited, there is a limit for its consumption through oral route. Suppose we encapsulate it and consume it as an encapsulated capsaicin, we can afford to consume larger amounts of capsaicin to derive the beneficial effect. Similarly, in the case of bioactives, which have limited bioavailability, by using the nanotechnology, we can probably boost their bioavailability and also derive their pharmaceutical potential to the maximum extent. A spiced diet is thus likely to make life not only tasty, but healthier also. Thank you very much for your patient listening.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words of wisdom. Now we are starting with the question answer round. If anyone wants to ask any questions, yeah. Okay, so there's one question. Can you please provide details of the spices which could be used in beverages with refreshing taste?
Can you repeat the question?
Can you please provide details of the spices could be used in beverages with refreshing taste?
Certainly, ginger can be used. Ginger. There is ginger ale already. Already ginger ale is in use in Western countries. Ginger can be comfortably used. And in beverages, along with yogurt, many of the spices can be added to this yogurt to derive medicinal effects. Many of the spices go well with yogurt, say such as mint, ginger, again, etc.
Which are the spices which are anti-cancer and fight against tumor cells?
Curcumin of turmeric, garlic, black cumin, ginger. These four have been experimentally evidenced to act as anti-cancer so far. The list may increase in future.
Sir, what is the dietary allowance of fenugreek seed should be consumed?
I would say it's not RDA to derive its anti-diabetic effect as well as hypocholesterolemic effect. It is suffice to consume at least 30 grams in a day. These 30-gram fenugreek seeds can be consumed along with wheat flour in making chapatis. Fenugreek 30 gram per day distributed over 3 meals is sufficient to help us manage anti-diabetes as well as ward off cardiovascular problems.
One person is asking for water-based beverages, which is the spice which is used the most?
Ginger ale, ginger.
Okay. Are there any spices which can maintain mental health and for detoxification?
There is no scientific information on that, so I cannot comment on it.
Okay.
Ayurveda claims so many things, which is only empirical. The knowledge is empirical, and I cannot vouch for that.
Does spices are used to reduce obesity?
Certainly, probably there are few spices which are also anti-hypolipidemic by reducing the triglyceride levels, by promoting the utilization of the fat and preventing the accumulation of fat in our tissues. They can probably act as anti-obese agents.
Sir, which are the spices?
Turmeric, red chili. Red chili probably is the best anti-obesity agent, followed by turmeric, and so also garlic. And fenugreek also. Fenugreek, by virtue of its high fiber content, it can also be an anti-obese agent.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Which is the variety of turmeric which is best in curcumin?
All the varieties contain significant amounts of curcumin. If you see yellow color in this rhizome, it is only because of curcumin. And there is nothing like, every variety will contain around 5% of curcumin. It ranges from say 4 to 5%. And irrespective of the variety, whichever is deep yellow in color certainly provides enough curcumin.
Which spices are used to increase immunity and which is very useful in the pandemic situation?
I listed it is garlic, turmeric, black cumin, and then clove, black pepper.
And sir, what are the benefits of other spices, excluding these ones?
There is no scientific information on the others except for the digestive stimulant action. For example, the mint leaves, and then few others, anise seeds, and then fennel, cinnamon. All these are known to be digestive stimulants. Other than this, the other medicinal effects have not been studied in detail.
Garlic is known to be anti-inflammatory in Ayurveda. What is the recommended level to consume in a week?
I cannot say per week. People can consume one clove a day. That means every day they consume. It's almost like one full garlic bulb. And certain people can afford to consume that much. But generally, everyone cannot consume that much garlic because one garlic a day keeps the wife away.
And how to maintain or increase shelf life of spices?
These antioxidant spices were initially employed to preserve foods. In fact, that's the first application of spices. To store the perishable foods, they used to add spices. So foods were in those days when there were no refrigerators or cold storage. So the presence of spice would have prevented the microbial spoilage of food for say a couple of days. Asafoetida, turmeric, these are garlic, even garlic. These are antimicrobial too.
There's one more question. Are imported spices as good as Indian spices, or which is superior, Indian or imported spices?
The spices are spices, irrespective of where they are grown. So whatever is available to you, please access to it and consume it liberally.
What spices are used to reduce joint pain?
Pain can be controlled effectively by topical application of capsaicin. In fact, Johnson plaster, we have seen, it is impregnated with capsaicin. Although it initially gives a hot sensation, capsaicin being a pain reliever is certainly effective, and neurologic pains post-surgery can also be effectively relieved by topical application with capsaicin. So red chili and turmeric are probably the best agents for relieving pain.
Extract of spices are equally good and antioxidant. Is it true? This question is.
It's true. Some of the bioactives are not lost during extraction, they are retained. So 100% they can be still active. In fact, they get enriched. When we extract from its natural source, it gets enriched and we can always make use of a concentrated solution.
We're very end to the session. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us your kind words of wisdom, and moreover to share with us what is happening in the nutraceutical industry, and moreover the research happening in related to spices. Thank you so much, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Yes, and there are many questions, sir, right now, but we're restricted to time. And we'd like to thank all our sponsors, and I'll especially like to thank Dr. Sonal Zanwar, ma'am, who was part of this session and was a special guest. And thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening us. And sir, most of them want to contact you. They have many questions.
Please.
So how can they contact you?
Yeah, please convey my email ID.
Okay.
You have my email ID.
Yes, I'll convey the email IDs.
Yeah, certainly you can display it, and anybody can contact. I will certainly reply within an hour. I will reply.
Yeah, sure. I'll convey email ID of sir.
Please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Sonal ma'am. And I'll thank all the supporters, sponsors.
Thank you, ma'am.
And all our knowledge partners and academic partners for the event. Thank you all. And please follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube to know what else other events and competitions which we are going to conduct through Nutri-Talk and Health Respect. So please stay connected with us, and follow us on our these three pages and social media sites.